Tim?
Got it.
Well,
Scott, how are you?
so you go first. No, you go
No, you
first.
go first.
Okay, so I'm here with marketing guru Tim Kist, and we started having a rousing conversation around the benefits for organizations investing in a sound and repeatable marketing and sales strategy. And we got all excited about this. We thought, well, let's shoot a video. So, Tim, I'm going to pass the baton to you first to provide your context of why you think it's important and what are the benefits for organizations investing, not at a cost, but investing in their marketing and sales.
Thanks, buddy. It really comes down to the focus on a customer-centric organization.
So we
And
hear
you and
that
I
term a
have,
lot. We hear that a lot. So what does that actually
sure,
mean beyond the lip service?
it means that we're looking at the situation that our customer is in, and we're trying to make sure that what we're offering is the value that the customer needs for their business.
Okay.
So how do you do that? You need to know about their business. You need to know pluses and minuses. It's not the what keeps you up at night question. It's more detailed than that. So from a marketing perspective, marketing needs to do the customer research on a broader scale. What they really need to do is make sure that sales brings back customer insights so that you bring this together so that marketing better arms the sales team to go out when they meet with the customers to provide good value. The challenge is that it's really those two parts, those two functions in the organization that have the most customer contact. And what I would say is what marketing needs to do to really help sales is go on ride-alongs.
I love
So
that.
it's great to do research. It's great to do all these other things. It's great for the marketing team to see a focus group, etc. But get into an actual customer situation. Go along with the sales team. Walk the floor of the customer. Sit in the meeting and hear firsthand what the customer is saying about how good your product or service is, or some challenges that they have, or some other things that they're trying to do in their business. Maybe this is something you guys can help us with. I don't think that happens nearly enough.
You know what? My experience is that it doesn't either. And I love the idea of, kind of taking this idea that there's a sales department and there's a marketing department and bringing them together. And we've talked about this before where, somebody on the sales team will say, hey, Tim, can you take this and make it look pretty? I have a presentation, right? And this is where this whole idea of investing in your marketing and sales becomes important because it's not the old school way of looking at this was marketing's job was to make things look pretty and sales job was to go beat as many people over the head with it and get a sale. And some of the notes that I wrote down here is, when you're investing in your sales and marketing, I love the idea of marketing and sales, doing ride-alongs together. I love the idea of sales leaders. And again, I was mentioning this book here, Sales Management Simplified by Mike Weinberg. Buy it at your local bookstore. Talking about this idea that sales managers have a tendency, and Mike has seen this way more than I have, of getting caught at their desk and being, as he calls them, CRM jockeys. And the CRM jockey sits at their desk, and they may or they may not have actually had sales experience, but they're not in charge of the sales team. And the CRM data says, Tim, I'm looking at our data here for May, and your activity was down by 15%. And my thoughts on activity. Activity for the sake of activity is a waste of time. And I've used the example of basically a poop throwing monkey. And the more you throw at the wall, the more sticks. And I think maybe the lesson from this is if you're investing in marketing and sales, it's because you've actually put together a strategy where marketing and sales are working together on that strategy. They're working the heck out of the strategy. And every few months they're getting together again and saying what's working, what's not working, how can we revise this and make it even better?
Well, again, if we use a customer-centric focus, is we're not doing it just for the benefit of the company.
Yes.
The outcome is benefit for us, obviously, through revenue, but we're looking at how do we better serve our customers so
Yes.
that our customers, when they have a choice, they pick us because we serve them better and
They know
serve
that we'll
defined
help them
by
solve their problem.
exactly all those pieces. So you mentioned the CRM jockey. The same thing happens in marketing. There's too much focus on I'm going to be a data-driven marketer. It drives me around the
And what
bend
does that
because,
mean?
well, it means that you really can look at the reports and dive in and understand all this. My point is, don't understand the data, understand what creates the data. How does the data get there? Well, a customer buys something. So do we understand enough about the customer, their buying journey, for example, how easy we make it for them to do business with us, how well we support them and reinforce this decision? And to your point about creating the strategy first, if you're not assessing your strategy implementation, you might be blind to other factors, or you might be so onto something that if you don't expand it, you may lose out on opportunities because you haven't expanded it. So I'll use the sports analogy. From football, it's the game plan. It's, you're in the game, you've practiced, you've prepared, the game is going, but suddenly something happens. You have an injury perhaps, or the other team has an injury, which creates a bigger opportunity, or the other team is doing something that you never expected. How do you adjust? If you don't make an adjustment, you're going to get clobbered.
I love that analogy.
And the same thing happens. And it's from a business perspective, for me, I don't want us to think that we have to go out and defeat the competition. For me, the sports analogy for business is I need to make sure that we are going to win the customer.
Right.
And then by definition, you defeat your competition. But how do you win the customer? Well, it's that collaboration of a good sales and marketing strategy that's for the benefit of the customer. And then it's up, and I'll put it on marketing shoulders to make sure that, in the words of one of the best marketing guys I ever worked for, great marketing begins at home. Make sure the rest of the organization understands why sales and marketing is doing what they're doing, the way they're doing it, and the importance of everybody supporting those efforts.
Yes. Yeah. There's so much good stuff there. And I'm just thinking about a lot of what we're talking about is predicated on senior people in an organization looking at marketing and sales, as a strategic asset, as an investment. And they have people in those positions that have the ability to develop strategy, adapt strategy, execute on that strategy. And far too often, and I'll look at it from the sales perspective, so many organizations are just about numbers. And I feel like if I was to ask them, what is your repeatable and successful sales process? What works for you? I sense a lot of them would have a challenge. And I know I've talked to you about this. I have this notion that if you have a sales process, and that is, who's your ideal customer? How do you get in front of them? When you're in front of them, how do you make the most of that meeting by doing like really great discovery? And this gets back to your core thing. How do you understand the customer? Well, you talk to them, you ask them questions. You don't start with the fourth step, which is doing a great presentation or demo or pitch. And then the fifth one is that you work toward owning the business. Too many organizations start at that fourth stage. And what I would suggest as part of your sales strategy is to look at each one of those stages and say, how do we get incrementally better at knowing who our ideal customer is, working with marketing helps there. How do we get in front of our ideal customer? Well, if you want to get their attention, marketing can be very good at helping you with that, right? And then you get into the really great discovery, discovery precedes presentation, and what is your saying, prescription without diagnosis is malpractice, all of those things. So, I realize that we're kind of getting back to similar topics, but it really is about this notion of there are so many benefits to organizations paying proper attention and putting proper investment into a marketing and sales strategy, because it will return itself tenfold by doing so.
You're exactly right. And you think of it, the investment is always in the fundamentals.
I love that.
Your picture behind you of the goalie reminds me of the first game of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The goalie for Florida, Sergei Bobrovsky, made some phenomenal saves. But if he didn't have great fundamentals, his body would not be able to do the things he did extra. But it's always fundamentals. It's the same thing in sales and marketing and business. Do the fundamentals well, and then you're capable and comfortable when changes have to happen.
See, I love that analogy. So I'll give you a real life analogy. So I'm going to be 58 this year. I still play hockey very poorly. And part of it is because I started playing hockey in the 70s, right? So the kick saves and the two pad stacks, and I'm trying to transition to more of a quiet, sound, fundamental goalie, like let's say Connor Hellebuck for those Winnipeg fans. And if I'm in my crease and the play's at the other end, or I'm warming up and sliding back and forth and doing all those things, it actually feels pretty good, right? But under pressure, like you just described there in your sales and marketing process, when you're under pressure, do you stay with those fundamentals? Do you stay with those good mechanics and fight through it? Or do you throw that all out the window? And throwing it out the window might be reverting back to what you did before. It might be to stop investing in sales and marketing. And then as a result, you're not going to win that game. I can guarantee you that short-term approach to, man, this two-pad stack's going to look really good here right now. At the end of the day, it's not going to last. So I love the analogy of fundamentals. Kind of less is more. Be quiet, be sound, be consistent. And I wrote down for my conversation ROI. If you do those things and you work at it and you're intentional about it, the ROI will pay off.
I agree with you. And it's something that particularly for large publicly traded companies that have these quarterly and even monthly pressures on their stock price and their earnings, et cetera, they tend not to have that longer term view. So put the right pieces in place, make sure the investment is there. It's marketing's and marketing's fault is sometimes they've adopted and adapted to be the pretty stick. Do you remember Pokemon Go was going to save the world? Well, what a farce that was. And there's too many other things too. So it's forgetting about those silver bullets, forgetting about those quick little fixes that someone says, oh, if you don't do this, you're going to fail. No, guess what? And this gets back to your point, Scott. Trust the process. If you got the right process, get people into the process, coach the process, evaluate and adjust the process.
Adapt and tweak.
Longer term,
don't blow it up.
You're going to be much more consistent. And it also puts you in a place where that starts to build trust with people because your customers know what they can expect from you all the time. Extend that back into the organization. The organization across other departments, people understand the importance of all the little things that they've done towards creating a happy and satisfied and long-term customer.
So I'll wrap this up by saying that what we're talking about here is the culmination of several decades of combined experience in sales and marketing. I know that Tim is probably even more diligent than I am when it comes to reading and following, marketing and sales leaders. I've got this growing list of books behind me as I try to get smarter at this as well. And it all comes down to this notion that, organizations and leaders out there, if you're investing in your process, if you're investing in your sales and marketing, it will pay off. And this isn't a matter of doing more of it and doing it faster and using the pretty stick, as you said. It's a matter of realizing because you can have a great product and you can have a great building. You can have all kinds of great senior people and great engineers and great finance people. But if you don't have a sound marketing and sales process, it's not going to matter. Any final words, Tim?
Because if you don't have that and you have no customers, then you don't need the engineers and the accountants and the IT people because you don't have a company.
And we just happen to know a couple of people that can help with that, don't we?
Yes, we do. Good looking guys too.
Enjoy your day. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Scott.